What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about how you can build strength that actually translates to your grappling. So I know a lot of athletes that spend hours in the weight room, but then when they go on the mat, they see no carryover between their strength training and their actual grappling. And if you've ever wondered why that is, or maybe that's you, I'm going to break this all down for you right now. But first, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. The first reason why you're not seeing a carryover between your strength training and your grappling is because you're focused only on isolating individual muscle groups, right? So listen, a lot of the training I do nowadays is fully integrative. It's focusing on tying the entire body as one unit, and I can still hit pretty good weight with full range on isolation exercises. Now, the reason for that is not because I did curls for 3 sets of 10 and progressively overloaded. It's because I strengthened my entire body as one unit, and that led to my individual links becoming stronger. The reason why focusing on integration over isolation helps you build more strength and perform better on the mat is because you're teaching your body to work as one unit, which is exactly what you're gonna need to do in wrestling, grappling, MMA, or really any sport for that matter. So one of my favorite ways to teach integration, and I learned this from my mentor, David Weck, is the coil position, okay? So when I'm coiling, what I'm really doing is I'm teaching my body how to separate between short side and long side. So I'm gonna go hands together right here on my toes. And when I link my hands, I'm gonna drive my right shoulder down and my right hip up to meet it. What happens when I do this is I'm turning on my connective tissue, not just my muscles. And in sports, it's not just muscles working, it's connective tissue that allow you to be explosive. So the reason this is called a coil is because I'm loading my core like a spring to then release and produce more explosive power. Now, the second reason why you're not seeing your strength training carry over to your grappling, MMA, or whatever sport it is that you do, this really applies to all sports, is that you're training only linear movements, only sagittal plane, front and back, or straight up and down movements. Now, in life, there's 3 planes of motion, right? Frontal, sagittal, and transverse. And the most neglected, in my experience, is always the transverse plane, right? So one way that we can train the transverse is using the landmine. And one of my favorite exercises for this is the rotational snatch. I'm gonna put up a picture of the planes of motion. You're literally gonna see it. I'm moving through here and rotating, okay? So right here, I showed you guys the coil because the coil is the foundation of all of my landmine work. I'm locking in this coil, getting short through the right side of my body and long through the left. Why is training the transverse plane important? Because again, in your sport, you're not only gonna be exposed to linear, you see the Jersey traffic in the background, people are honking, going crazy. Anyway, you're not only gonna be exposed to linear movements, you're gonna be exposed to rotational movements constantly. So you need to be prepared for that. If you're only training linear movements, you'll never see a carryover. Now, the third reason why you're not seeing a carryover between your strength training and your actual sport is because you're only training partial ranges, okay? Listen, nothing against heavy lifting, nothing against partial ranges. They're great. They 100% serve a purpose. But if you're only training partial ranges of motion, you will become restricted in full ranges. I can tell you from personal experience, when all I did in the weight room was box squats, board bench, and rack pulls, I was stiff as shit, and I got injured all the time. It wasn't until I started combining exercises like rack pulls with full range of motion squats that I actually saw an improvement in my mobility, and that actually carried over to having strength in those awkward positions for my sport. So for example, one of the exercises that helped me improve my mobility when I combined it with my heavy partials is the Cossack squat, because this is literally a crackdown in wrestling, right? So when all I was doing was heavy box squats and partial range of motions, on my rack pulls, guess where I was tight as shit? My hips. But combining the heavy partials with a unilateral, full range of motion movement like the Cossack squat, eventually adding a dumbbell and evening out both sides, helped me to balance out heavy lifting and mobility without having to spend hours outside of my training stretching. Because let's be real, you're not gonna stretch on your own. Nobody does. If this video was helpful for you and you wanna train the way that me and my athletes do every single day in the gym, click the link in the description down below.